Who is a celebrity you lost all respect for? Meg Ryan. Also on the set of In the Cut. I worked on it for 2 weeks and we were all told not to make eye contact with her. About a week in, a woman was walking by and started to tell Meg how much she loved her. Meg starts snapping her fingers off toward the distance. Her assistant comes running and literally opens a huge golf umbrella in the lady's face so Meg could walk the other way. Seemed like they had practiced this move. UK, London, here. Used to work in a high-end cocktail bar/cinema in a posh area of London. We had a share of celebrities. The worst, Kendall Jenner, did not know the word thank you or please and verbally abused one of the staff members saying things like "this is why you earn $2 an hour." Peter Jackson refused to move for a staff member carrying a drink at seat service in the cinema screen, and when the poor 18-year-old tripped and spilled the slightest drop, complained to the manager, me, and wanted the kid fired. Vanessa Feltz, probably only known in the UK, kicked off because a staff member didn't know who she was and said as she reviewed films for The Sun, British tabloid, that it would be beneficial for us to give her free ice cream. When we pointed out that it made no difference to us if she liked Star Wars or not, she threw a temper tantrum. However, they aren't all bad. Nicholas Hoult, super down to earth and low-key, tipped the bartender £20. Emma Watson, much the same as above, never made a fuss. Also would happily chat with the staff about anything and everything. Jude Law, ordered at the bar like everyone else, but was getting hassled by some fans, so when I told him to go take a seat and he'd bring his drinks over, he was so thankful and apologetic. He tipped well and chatted for a bit about how the service industry can be so tough. Clive Owen, one of the most polite people I've ever served. Steven Seagal. I liked some of his movies when he was popular. The stories that have emerged in the past several years let us all know he's an absolute piece of crap. Billy Crystal. He kicked me out of my seats at a Lewis Black stand-up show. Literally stood over me and was like, "These are my seats." I sort of laughed at him, had my tickets in hand, double checked they were correct, and was like, "Sorry, I'm in the correct seat." He stood there and insisted, "No, these are mine, you gotta go." Lewis had started, and I didn't want to cause a scene, so we got up and walked over to the aisle, and the usher goes, "Ugh, he's been so difficult tonight." They gave us box seats. Still good, but we had like third row seats in the center. Can't watch City Slickers or Monsters Incorporated without hating on him. Lol. Oprah. My sister told me about this young kid that was kidnapped and abused daily, but one day years later escaped and made it home to their family. Oprah wanted to do an interview and the family declined. So Oprah shows up at their house with TV crew and equipment. Wendy Williams. Made fun of victims of murder, sexual assault, encouraged a woman to trick her husband into having another child, etc. Barbara Walters. She used to get some of the biggest interviews in the world and was well respected. Then The View happened, and then total respect was lost when she pushed back on Corey Feldman for outing how rampant sexual assault was in Hollywood. Now in hindsight we find out Barbara Walters was in Jeffrey Epstein's circle of friends and was certainly aware, if not worse. Dr. Phil. He was a client where I worked several years back. He and his entire entourage are the very definition of entitled sea thistles. Any Scientologist. I pity some of them, but OMG, what an awful log. Bill Cosby. He was America's dad. Every time I find out they're Scientologists, can't do it. Those people should be in prison. Butch Hartman. Love his work, but the guy is totally effing nuts. Gwen Paltrow is so anti-science, I just hate everything. As a kid I liked the Dr. Oz show, but I lost all respect after finding out he was actually just a rego-blown nuthead who claims to be America's doctor, but he didn't even vaccinate his own kids. Edit. His wife was the one who had a say in the kids' vaccinations. Roman Polanski won a couple Academy Awards, even though has been a fugitive in the US for over 40 years for drugging and raping a 13-year-old, and has been accused of similar predatory behavior by women has worked with. R. Kelly. I loved listening to his music when I was younger. But hearing all of these stories about how he is basically a predator to underage girls is very unsettling. The fact he even married a girl who wasn't even of legal age was gross. Allen Ginsberg. I loved his poetry up until I found out he was a member of NAMBLA. Ian Watkins. The singer of Lost Prophets. Why? He likes to diddle kids. Chris Brown after he beat up Rihanna. I could never listen to his music after that. I'm actually surprised he is still relevant and making music. Tyra Banks in my preteen years. I would watch her talk show every weekday. She was my idol. As a teen, I was more interested in America's Next Top Model. Recently, it was pointed out to me just how toxic a lot of Tyra's content was that I watched 10 to 17 years ago. I don't want to list it off, but there are videos about her problematic challenges in ANTM and insensitive things on her talk show. She also founded an MLM, which is never good, and it failed. I don't care for Gob. James Corden. Used to think he was slightly funny a long time ago, then realized he is a massive C. Jenny McCarthy. What a bee of mess. Jared Leto after all the S he pulled on the Suicide Squad set. I like to think his conduct is mostly the reason he got edited out of 90% of the movie, although the director won't cop to that. Chevy Chase. Never really a fan of him pre-Community, but I at least respected him for putting in the work. But after hearing how much of a D-bag and how difficult to work with made me lose that respect. Chris Brown. Stop beating women. I honestly don't like Ellen DeGeneres because she likes to make fun of younger people that don't know how to do certain things. A YouTuber I lost all respect for is Mini Lad. Turns out Mini Lad likes to play with Mini Lad's edit. Thanks for the silver. I used to listen to Simple Plan a lot as a teen and sometimes still do. I recently found out that their bassist David Desrosiers was accused by a few women of sexual misconduct, including grooming a minor for sex. He confessed and apologized, left the band in 2020, and sought mental help, while the band also apologized to their fans for his behavior, and they don't seem to condone his actions. It blows knowing that one of the members of my childhood favorite band turned out to be like this. But I'm glad that the rest of the band held him accountable and didn't make any excuses for him. Tom Cruise. He knows what happened to Shelley Miscavige, and he benefits from free labor of Scientologist members. People who are forced to work without pay. Danny Masterson. He's a Scientologist. That's all you need to know he's trash. Also Allison Mack from Smallville. That sex cult stuff. Wow. Surprisingly I haven't seen Jeffree Star or Shane Dawson, but definitely both of them. Both of them have done enough BS to fill a book. I do believe that people change and can better themselves, but in my opinion neither of them have or ever will. They are two people I wouldn't miss if they decided to step away from their platforms. First off, I'm old, but O.J. Simpson. He had it all. Evil Knievel. His exact words when my 10-year-old self asked him for an autograph were, "Get this kid out to here, D." Bill Cosby. Me and my father listened to his routines for a good part of my childhood. I had a MP3 player filled with his stuff. First accusation had me shocked. As they piled higher I had to realize that even the most skilled and charismatic people can be horrible. Nancy Cartwright. Scientology. Really? I was gutted when I found out. Dan Schneider. Any of them that are Scientologists. Just started watching Scientology in the aftermath. F those twats. Ben Stiller. Heard a few stories about him being a complete asshole. Heard he got one of the film set crew members fired for not getting him a coffee, even though it wasn't his job or something like that. Heard he also doesn't like people looking at him and will give people less about it. What do you expect, your famous UFing Womble? Jodestein. The head of Lakewood Church, with an average attendance of 20,000 to his football stadium-sized congregation, and an additional 7 million tuned in online. He's written several best-selling novels, and with over $40 million in church attendees donations each year, he has amassed an incredible wealth. Osteen is not a true man of God. More like a motivational speaker with a Christian mask on. Very little of his wealth is donated. And when a hurricane hit his town of Houston, Texas, he turned people away seeking shelter. He recently received a $4 million PPE loan from the US government because his massive, multi-million-dollar telepreaching business suffered donation losses due to COVID. While I can't say his message is any less meaningful, he is no doubt a shady, selfish man. Dave vanity, or whatever. I grew up as a scene kid who eventually got into punk and goth industrial. But I used to like BOTDF, Blood on the Dance Floor, but turns out the guy loved his under 15-year-old fans. Sick fuck.